In the depths of Ligmarwood, an enchanted forest alive with magic, a young fae named Lyra wandered alone, unaware that her fate was about to intertwine with both her forest home and the human world. Ligmarwood was a place of mystery, where twilight lingered even in daylight, and the air hummed with enchantments. Lyra had just turned 100 years old, the age of maturity among the fae. Tonight, she had felt drawn to a glimmering pool, a hidden place of reflection where she often whispered her dreams. She gazed at her reflection, wondering if she would be chosen for the ritual of light, a ceremony held once a century to keep balance between the human world and the magic that sustained Ligmarwood. It was her dream to play a part, but she had no idea how significant her role would become. As she knelt by the pool, a soft voice drifted from the trees behind her.
Lost in thought again, Lyra.
Turning, she saw Alder, a fae knight with storm-gray eyes and a presence as ancient as Ligmarwood itself. Despite his somber demeanor, he had been a friend and guide since her childhood, someone she trusted with her deepest fears.
I'm just wondering, am I ready if they choose me?
Alder's face softened.
The forest chooses those who are needed, not those who are ready.
Before she could respond, a glint caught her eye. Beneath an ancient root, she found an old scroll glowing faintly. As she picked it up, a surge of energy connected her to the forest's very core. Unfurling the scroll, she struggled to decipher its ancient words, but the message was unmistakable. When worlds collide and shadows descend, the Guide of Light shall guard Ligmarwood against eternal darkness. Lyra's heart pounded. She had heard the title Guide of Light only in myth. It was said to be a lost role, one who would lead the ritual and wield the forest's essence to hold back darkness. Yet, now she stood holding this ancient prophecy, as if fate had whispered her name.
Alder, what does this mean?
Alder's usual calm gave way to fear.
It means Ligmarwood has chosen you, Lyra. You are the Guide of Light.
Before she could respond, a rumbling shook the ground, followed by the loud crash of branches. From the shadows of Ligmarwood, armored humans pushed their way into the sacred grove. Leading them was a young, fierce-eyed prince with dark hair and emerald eyes that held a strange mix of determination and curiosity.
Search the forest. Magic dwells here, and we needed to save our people.
The humans trampled fae paths, crushing sacred herbs and flowers as they moved. Lyra and Alder stepped into their path, confronting the prince and his men. Rowan stopped, startled by the ethereal beauty of the young fae.
A spirit of the forest. I've heard tales of such beauty, but they pale compared to the reality.
Lyra's expression was cold.
Flattery won't protect you from the wrath of Ligmarwood. Turn back while you still can.
Rowan held his hands up, a flicker of desperation in his gaze.
I mean no harm. But our kingdom is threatened. Darkness spreads through our lands, poisoning crops, corrupting rivers. If magic can save us, we have no choice but to find it.
Alder stepped forward, his eyes blazing.
This forest magic is not yours to take. Leave or face the consequences.
But Lyra, sensing something deeper, held up a hand to stop Alder.
Wait, Alder. Perhaps he can help us. The prophecy speaks of worlds colliding. What if this is meant to happen?
Alder's expression darkened, but he fell silent, allowing her to speak.
If there's a way to protect both our worlds, I'm willing. Just tell me what I must do.
And so began their uneasy alliance. Over the next few days, Rowan, Lyra, and Alder gathered enchanted herbs, crystals, and rare roots in preparation for the ritual. As they worked, Rowan shared stories of his kingdom's plight. Rivers turning to poison, fields dying overnight. It was a darkness beyond any human power to control. Though wary, Lyra found herself moved by his sincerity and determination. One evening, as they worked beside the pool, Rowan looked at Lyra with unusual solemnity.
Why guard this place so closely? Why keep its magic hidden?
Humans have a habit of taking what they don't understand. Ligmarwood is one of the last untouched places where magic is free and alive.
Rowan nodded. understanding.
Then let me protect it as fiercely as you do.
Their quiet moment was interrupted by Alder, his expression darker than ever.
The ritual is ready. But first, Lyra, there is something you must know. To succeed as the guide, you must undergo the Trial of Shadows.
The Trial of Shadows was something Lyra had only read about. It was an ancient rite designed to test a fae's strength of heart and purity of purpose. No one who had faced it returned unchanged, and many had been lost.
If it's my destiny, I accept it.
The trial requires facing your deepest fears, your worst doubts. But it's not a path one walks alone. Rowan and I, we will stand beside you.
Rowan looked at Lyra, a mix of fear and resolve in his eyes.
I would never let you face this alone.
The three of them made their way to the heart of Ligmarwood, where an ancient circle of stones marked the trial's beginning. Mist coiled around their feet as the forest fell silent. Suddenly, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the trees.
Lyra, guide of light, are you ready to face the shadows within?
Lyra took a steadying breath.
I am ready.
The mist thickened, and shadows rose from the earth, swirling around them. They formed figures, twisted reflections of Lyra, Rowan, and Alder, each embodying their darkest fears. A shadow version of Lyra stepped forward, her eyes hollow and cold.
You are weak, unworthy of Ligmarwood's power. You doubt yourself, and your fear will bring ruin.
Lyra's heart pounded, but she forced herself to stand firm.
I may be afraid, but my love for this forest is stronger than my fear.
The shadow sneered, but its form wavered, dissolving into mist. Then came Alder's shadow, towering and menacing, a dark reflection of his ancient past.
You carry the curse of vengeance. You will betray the one you swore to protect.
Alder's fists clenched, shadows swirling around him.
I have lived with this curse, but I choose my loyalty. I will not be its slave.
The shadow faded, and finally, Rowan's shadow stepped forward, a reflection of guilt and helplessness.
You bring ruin wherever you go. Your kingdom is doomed, and you seek to use the forest's magic for selfish gain.
Rowan's face tightened, but he stood tall.
I may not be perfect, but my heart is true. I am here to protect, not destroy.
With his words, the last shadow dissolved, leaving only silence. The voice of the forest spoke again, softer this time.
You have proven yourselves worthy. The trial is complete.
As the mist lifted, Lyra felt a surge of strength, a newfound certainty. Together, they had passed the trial, and she was now fully prepared to embrace her role as the guide of light. The night of the ritual arrived. Fae from every corner of Ligmarwood gathered around the ancient stones, their wings shimmering under the moonlight. Lyra stood in the center of the circle, Rowan and Alder at her sides. As she began to chant, a golden aura surrounded her, connecting her spirit to the heart of Ligmarwood. The earth pulsed with energy, and a brilliant light spread through the forest. But as the ritual reached its peak, a dark presence crept from the edge of the circle, slithering toward them. Alder's eyes glowed red, his body tensing as shadows coiled around him. The curse he had carried for centuries was awakening, feeding off the ritual's energy.
No, the curse. It's taking hold.
Lyra's heart broke as she watched her friend twist in agony, his form becoming monstrous.
Alder, fight it. You're stronger than this.
But the darkness was relentless. Rowan drew his sword, but Lyra stopped him.
No, there must be another way. Violence won't free him from this curse.
Desperation filled her voice, and she stepped closer to Alder, her hands glowing with the forest's light. She reached out, pouring her own energy into him, trying to push back the darkness that had entangled his soul for so long. For a brief moment, Alder's expression softened, and the shadows around him receded. But then, with a fierce surge, the darkness struck back, consuming his form entirely, its hunger relentless and unstoppable. Rowan, seeing her struggle, stepped forward with a determined gaze. He pulled a small vial from his satchel, the last essence of his kingdom's pure spring, a magical source said to have healing properties. It was all he had left, and he had intended to save it for his own people. But seeing Lyra's resolve, he knew this was where it belonged.
Take this, Lyra. It's all that's left of the pure magic from my kingdom. If anything can help him, it's this.
He handed her the vial, and Lyra hesitated, recognizing the sacrifice Rowan was making. She took it gratefully, opening the vial and letting the pure, radiant liquid drip onto Alder. As it touched him, the darkness writhed and hissed, recoiling from the healing energy. Alder's body shuddered, the curse weakening under the combined force of Ligmarwood's magic and Rowan's offering. His form returned to normal, his breathing steady, and he opened his eyes, free from the shadows.
Thank you, both of you. You have given me back my life.
But Lyra knew the battle wasn't over. Even though Alder was freed, the dark curse that had bound him remained a lurking threat, feeding off the magic of the forest, growing stronger by the moment. She could feel it all around her. A hunger that wouldn't stop until it had consumed everything in its path. Realizing what she had to do, Lyra turned to Rowan and Alder, a bittersweet smile on her face.
There's only one way to end this. The Guide of Light must fully merge with Ligmarwood to protect it from the darkness. I must give myself to the forest.
Alder shook his head, pain evident in his eyes.
Lyra, no. There has to be another way.
Rowan's face was stricken with grief. His voice choked.
Please, Lyra. Don't do this. We'll find another way. You don't have to sacrifice yourself.
Lyra looked at both of them, her heart heavy yet resolute.
This is my destiny. Ligmarwood has chosen me, and I will protect it. As long as the forest thrives, so will I in a different way.
Taking a final, deep breath, she stepped back into the center of the ritual circle. She began to chant, her voice resonating with the power of the forest, the trees, the stones, and the spirits of those who had come before her. Her body glowed with a golden light, brighter and brighter, until she was a beacon of pure energy. As her spirit merged with Ligmarwood, Lyra felt a deep connection to everything around her. She was no longer just herself, she was the forest, the life within it, the protection, and the balance. She could feel the roots of the trees, the pulse of every creature, the song of the earth itself. It was beautiful, and it was eternal. The curse that had plagued Alder and threatened Ligmarwood recoiled, unable to withstand the power of her light. It was driven back into the shadows, banished from the forest. But as the ritual reached its conclusion, Lyra's physical form began to fade. Her friends watched in silent horror as she became part of the light, her essence spreading through the forest, her spirit woven into every tree and leaf, every blade of grass. She was everywhere, and yet she was gone. With one last, lingering look at her friends, she whispered her final words.
Protect this place. Protect each other. I'll be with you always.
Her voice echoed softly, like a breeze through the trees, and then she was gone, her spirit forever part of Ligmarwood. In the days that followed, Ligmarwood flourished as it never had before. The darkness had been driven away, and the forest pulsed with a renewed magic, gentle and watchful. Fae and animals alike sensed Lyra's presence, feeling a warmth and peace wherever they roamed. Prince Rowan returned to his kingdom, keeping his promise to her. He became known as the Guardian Prince, the one who had allied with the Fae and swore to protect Ligmarwood from human encroachment. He enforced strict laws to preserve the forest, teaching his people to respect the magic that dwelled within. But Rowan himself could never forget Lyra. Every month, he journeyed back to Ligmarwood, visiting the glade where she had become one with the forest, speaking to the trees as if she could hear him. He would tell her of his kingdom's struggles and victories, sharing memories and stories, just as he had done during their short time together.